one thing I did want to just share, this is another shout out to Cayenne Wellness Center and our new sanctuary. So it's official. We have opened and we have our sound healing. Mm.
Mm,
And we have our gentle stretching. And
mm.
we have our qigong.
Ooh, very
I
nice.
Oh, I love it. And we have our reflexology Fridays.
Fantastic.
Um, we're going to continue to add to the different sessions that we provide, but it's just something that we see the importance of being able to engage in these therapies as something that's just part of what we do, just like breathing or hydrating, something that we do to just keep ourselves in homeostasis. So, with that said, I would like to transition this over to you all to be able to just have a conversation about what is that? What does it look like? And what are I already shared just a few of those, but I'd just like to hear what people are actually using and what has been most helpful. Take it away.
Mhm. Who's going first?
I guess I'll jump in here
Go
and
for
get
it.
started and talk about the role of dietary supplements in managing sickle cell disease. Oftentimes, we run to the vitamin shop or even to your local herbal store to find things to help in managing sickle cell disease, whether it be something that you learned from your family and friends in terms of what works, what doesn't, or if it's the latest fad that you've seen from social media. So, to put this presentation that I'm giving into context, I would like to preface by saying I am a pharmacist. So, I have, I guess you could say, a double view in terms of what it looks like in managing sickle cell disease. Yes, I know all about Western medicine and the therapeutic options that we have available to help us in managing sickle cell disease, albeit small but mighty. I also delve into the natural space and looking at vitamins, supplements, and things of that nature that can help in managing sickle cell disease. So I think of my view as the best of both worlds. How can we utilize these things to complement one another? So that's what I will be talking about today. So I'm going to share my screen for the slides that I've prepared. And let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see it.
All
Can see
good?
it. Mm.
Okay, so if we look at this picture here, it starts out with a capsule, which we all know medications are utilized to treat a myriad of conditions. But also inside this capsule, we have the foods. Before we got to Western medicine, I truly believe that plants and foods were our ultimate source of where we derived all types of treatments to treat ailments that we have. So for me, it's going back to the basics.
Right.
And hopefully I can advance my slides here. Okay, here we go. So looking at complementary versus alternative medicine, sometimes those words are used interchangeably. And I want to make sure that we are of the same sound mind when we understand what does it mean to complement versus using alternative therapy. And looking at evidence-based dietary supplements, I started before by saying sometimes you get the information about what works best from what you may have heard, but in the scientific field of things, we like to work in the evidence-based space. So we'll also look at some of the evidence that supports some of these supplements that are utilized in managing sickle cell disease and highlight some of those food sources of where you may be able to find some of those supplements if you don't have access to a vitamin shop or the vitamin supplements may be rather expensive. I'll look at some of the things that you can utilize or add to your diet to help achieve those goals. So when we talk about complementary versus alternative, more than 30% of adults and about 12% of children actually take part in utilizing some type of approach of treatment outside of what we consider as Western. So sometimes people would use the term alternative and some would use the word complementary. So to break that down, when a particular therapy is used in conjunction with your standard medication regimen or treatment, then that's considered complementary. If a non-stream non-mainstream practices used in place of conventional or your traditional therapy, that's what we would consider alternative. In sickle cell disease, the best outcome I think is achieved when you're able to have the best of both worlds and have one to complement one another opposed to alienate or completely going against what your provider has deemed necessary for you. So there are many types of complementary health approaches that are available and that people oftentimes use. We have natural products, which you can see here, the majority of people that go down to this complementary space, natural products are first and foremost. Then we have deep breathing followed by yoga or some type of soft or movement. We have meditation, massage, special diets, homeopathy, relaxation, and guided imagery. I think that guided imagery one is one that I think should be fully explored a little bit more, because you'd be amazed at what you can accomplish for your body and health-wise by just guided imagery. But today, my talk is going to focus on natural products in the realm of dietary supplements. So I want to preface this presentation by saying the following statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. That's the disclaimer here. So dietary supplements are considered substances that you may eat or drink. It is also a product intended for ingestion that contains a dietary ingredient to add further nutritional value to your diet. And this dietary ingredient may be one or any combination of the following substances that you see listed here. So you may have a vitamin, a mineral, herb, amino acids, and that's the amino acid one we might think of Indari in the sickle cell space. That's one of the amino acids that has actually been FDA approved to help with pain management in sickle cell disease, and we'll talk about that one a little bit later. It may be a concentrate, a metabolite, a constituent, or an extract. So any of these products that fall into these categories are considered dietary supplements. So when we talk about sickle cell disease and why these dietary supplements are even important, it's because in sickle cell disease, there's an increased nutritional need for these supplements, because people with sickle cell disease, they have a higher energy use, whether it be at rest or even when they're moving. And that's because there's a constant red blood cell production. The hemolysis or the cell breakdown that's constantly occurring requires the body to utilize more energy. There's increased heart workload due to the low oxygen concentration that is in blood in sickle cell disease. There's increased protein turnover because the bodies break down and rebuild protein more often. This uses about 30% of your resting energy. So therein lies the reason of why there's a higher energy requirement for sickle cell disease, because 30% of that energy is used and you're not even doing anything except sitting down. This means that the patients with sickle cell disease have higher energy needs for calories and protein, and normal diet just doesn't often meet that need. And this can lead to delayed growth and development, especially in children and teens. So the main takeaway here is that people with sickle cell disease require specialized new treatment plans to help support their unique energy and protein demands. When we talk about sickle cell disease and nutrition, eating a balance that's high in nutrient-rich and whole foods is beneficial for all of us, but especially when we're talking about sickle cell disease. You want to make sure you have a variety of vegetables from all the subgroups, especially those dark greens, red beets, oranges, legumes, beans, peas, starchy, and others. You want to make sure you eat whole fruits, whole grains. And the whole part is important, because when you start to eat more processed foods, you actually begin to lose the nutritional value of the food that you're trying to consume to achieve better health. So you want to make sure that you consume as much whole products as you can. You want to make sure you have a variety of proteins. I know we think of protein coming from our meat and seafood, but sometimes people who don't eat meat or seafood, and there are very vegetarians, there is a good way that they are also able to increase or obtain.
Uh-oh. Did we
Okay.
lose her?
Uh, Dr. Scott?
Dr. Lynetta, you're muted right now. We lost your vote.
Oh, can
There
you
we
hear
go.
me?
We can
No,
hear
we
you
can
now,
hear
but your
you.
slide deck is off.
Do you want to go
Okay.
back and share again, dear?
Okay, hang on.
Okay, yeah, we were grooving. And all of a sudden,
Okay, can you see it now?
it's coming up.
There it
Okay.
is.
There you go. Thank you so much.
All right. So when we're talking about sickle cell disease and nutrition, main takeaway here is just making sure you're eating foods from a variety of food groups, whole foods, get your proteins in. When you talk about healthy oils and healthy fats, olive oil, almond oil, coconut oils, those are your healthy oils. And you want to limit your saturated and trans fat. That means fried foods that you may obtain from fast food restaurants, sugary foods, cakes, sweets, all of those things. That's where you will increase that saturated fat. And that's important because the saturated fat also contributes to inflammation, and the added sugars also contributes to inflammation in the body. And making sure that you drink 8 to 10 glasses of water per day at minimum for sickle cell disease. This is a no-brainer. We all know why staying hydrated is very important in sickle cell disease. So when we talk about some of the common deficiencies in sickle cell disease that are seen, we have omega-3, which is inclusive of your DHA and your EPA. Typically, your omega-3s are obtained from seafoods. Then you have vitamins A, C, D, E, the B complex, zinc, magnesium, and folic acid. So those are some of the common deficiencies that are seen in sickle cell disease. And if you wanted to go about increasing nutrition and you didn't know where to start, those are some of the ones that you would probably try to target. Most of these can be obtained in a multivitamin or either a multivitamin with minerals to encompass the majority of them. You would probably have to take an additional supplement for the omega-3 portion that's needed, but a lot of those that are deficient can usually be obtained in your multivitamin or a multivitamin with minerals. You have to pay close attention though when you are selecting your multivitamin and making sure that it does not have an additional iron component unless your provider has shared with you that you are iron deficient. Sickle cell disease and sickle cell anemia, typically when we think of anemia, we think there's a decrease in iron. Well, in sickle cell, that is not necessarily the case. And especially if a person is receiving blood transfusions, they could actually be an iron overload. So that's something that is very important to think about when you start to supplementing your diet and you choosing a multivitamin. Make sure you're looking at the label and make sure that you choose one that does not have iron already added in it unless your provider has shared that with you that you need to supplement your diet with additional iron. Nutrition plays a role in managing fatigue, pain episodes, and your quality of life. So food is very important and your food source is very important in sickle cell disease. So let's talk about the omega-3 fatty acids. So when we talk about the background of the omega-3 in sickle cell disease, blood cells can stick together and to the walls of the blood vessels. We know this. This is the pathophysiology of what causes the pain issues with sickle cell disease. People with sickle cell disease have much lower levels of omega-3 fats like the DHA and the EPA, which help to stop blood cells from clumping together, sticking, swelling, and they actually help the blood to flow better. Studies have found that omega-3 fatty acid supplements can be a safe and effective way to reduce the frequency and the severity of vaso-occlusive crisis in patients who have sickle cell disease. There have been lower incidence of severe anemia and transfusions, reduced inflammations and blood biomarkers, and fewer absences from school or work. So the dosage that you can see there, that's a standard dose of DHA that is required, which is typically about 2 grams a day for a 70-pound person. So that is on average. Food sources of where you may be able to obtain omega-3, as I stated earlier, we have fish and other seafood, but you can also get this omega-3 from your nuts and seeds, plant oils, and fortified foods. Sometimes it'll say on the label if it has had additional omega-3 added to it or DHA on the label, you can readily see that. A source of also where you may be able to obtain the 2 grams of DHA or at least the 2 grams of DHA is in a product called Altemia. This is a product that is a supplement. It's a medical food for dietary management of sickle cell disease in pediatric and adult patients. One packet of Altemia typically provides you about 2.4 grams of DHA, 400 milligrams of EPA, and 150 milligrams of your other N3 fatty acids. Those are those healthy fats, and it doesn't have that fishy taste. So if you ever know anything about omega-3 and taking fish oils, it has a horrible, horrible taste associated with it. But the Altemia does not. It's more of a orange pudding consistency of what this one is. So this is important when we talk about the context of where we obtain our omega-3 products and exactly how much of that you actually need. So a regular fish oil capsule, the amount of omega-3 is listed here in what you may obtain, but look at the volume of the number of capsules that you may have to take when you're trying to consume that 2 to 3 grams of EPA, DHA that you need each day. For all of these, whether it's a regular fish oil capsule, whether you get even if you got a concentrated fish oil capsule, if you use krill oil, cod liver oil, which I know many people may be very familiar with. Cod liver oil has that horrible fishy taste. And again, it's 2 to 3 teaspoons. So that's pretty much a large volume. And then if you were to eat a piece of salmon, which is a great source of obtaining DHA, you want to make sure that your piece of salmon is at least 4 to 6 ounces. So that would say about the inside of your palm. That's about the size wise of how much of that salmon that you would have to eat to reach that 2 to 3 grams of DHA. So Altemia is an alternative that is available. It's a small packet and you reach that amount, that daily amount that's needed in just that small package size. Antioxidants. This is a term that is used to describe any substance that can protect the cells of our body against chemicals called free radicals, which can actually damage the cells. In sickle cell disease, we do know that the red blood cells break down relatively quickly. And when those red blood cells break down, the contents that's released from that cell, it gets onto the surrounding cells. And those products or the byproducts that are released from their red blood cell actually increase the likelihood of surrounding cells breaking down. But when you have antioxidants on board, it actually provides a protective barrier against surrounding cells so that they don't break as easily. So that's why antioxidants are so important in sickle cell disease. People with sickle cell often have low levels of the antioxidant vitamins. These are your vitamins A, C, and E, as well as zinc and glutathione. Again, there's a caution here with iron overload. Vitamin C enhances iron absorption, which can be problematic for individuals with iron overload, which is a common concern in sickle cell disease patients who receive frequent blood transfusions. And I put this here because, again, when you're looking at your multivitamin typically has vitamins A, C, and E's. And if you get one with minerals, it'll have zinc. But again, it also may have iron in it as well. So just be sure that your vitamin does not have iron. And again, when you're taking your antioxidant and you're utilizing vitamin C, just be careful to watch your iron concentrations, especially if you are receiving blood transfusions. So I talked about this product earlier. We talked about Endari. So Endari is L-glutamine amino acid. And in sickle cell disease, we talked about them being more susceptible to oxidative damage when compared to red blood cells here to normal red blood cells. Oral glutamine supplementation reduces this oxidative stress and acute complication. It also participates in the formation of proteins, glutamate, amino sugars, and nucleotides. So reducing oxidative stress in sickle cells helps to retain that normal cell structure. Again, those cells don't break apart as easily. And this helps to not cause blockages in blood flow. Ultimately, this helps to decrease vaso-occlusive pain episodes and hospitalization rates. And then you have the dosage there. 10 to 30 grams per day based on the body weight twice a day. So Endari may be a product that you may be accustomed to hearing about because it was brought to the market back in 2017. So we also have food sources where you may be able to obtain L-glutamine. And the dietary sources are in protein-rich foods like beef, chicken, fish, dairy products, eggs, vegetables. The list goes on and on there. So if you don't have access to L-glutamine or Endari, you may also be able to obtain it from the foods that you actually eat as well. Vitamin D supplementation. The background here is that vitamin D deficiency is common in people with sickle cell disease, regardless of age. And to be honest, many people have vitamin D deficiency, not just sickle cell disease. Vitamin D regulates calcium levels and supports bone health. Its deficiency may worsen musculoskeletal health problems already present in people who have sickle cell disease. So there was a study that found that suboptimal vitamin D status is ubiquitous among African American children with type SS sickle cell disease. 5 to 20-year-old African American children with and without sickle cell disease were randomized to vitamin D supplementation at 4,000 to 7,000 international units per day, and they were evaluated at 6 and 12 weeks for changes in their vitamin D status. At baseline, 95% of the subjects with SS and 87% of the healthy controls had suboptimal vitamin D levels. But after 12 weeks, both vitamin D3 doses were approved to be safe and well tolerated. And they also observed significant increase in your fetal hemoglobin, decreases in that high sensitivity C-reactive protein. So you may have heard of this in your labs. That C-reactive is actually an inflammatory marker that tells how much inflammation you have going on in your body. And there was a reduction in the percentage of patients who had high platelet count. So if your platelets were too high, vitamin D helped to bring those down to a normal range. The dosage for vitamin D supplementation is seen there for normal and standard. So basically, in this particular study, the dosage minimum to get these results that were seen to be of benefit was about 4,000 international units. Food sources for vitamin D. The flesh of fatty fish such as salmon, tuna, and mackerel. Fish liver oils are among the best sources to achieve this. And you also find vitamin D in beef liver, cheese, and milk. So again, if you didn't have a commercial substance like Altemia available for you to achieve that high DHA, vitamin D is also a product that can help you. I'm sorry, fish is also a source of where you can obtain your vitamin D. So eating fish also gives you, it's like a 2-for-1. You get your vitamin D and you get your omega-3 DHA supplement as well. So let's talk about zinc supplementation. So zinc here is relatively common in zinc deficiency is relatively common in adult patients with sickle cell disease. You have a high zinc concentration in urine and a high protein turnover due to that increased hemolysis, or the breakdown of the red blood cells, significantly increase the daily zinc requirement for sickle cell disease, which typically is not met by your usual dietary intake. And manifestations of low zinc may present themselves as poor ulcer healing, growth retardation, delays in sexual development, hyperammonemia, and immune deficiencies. So there was a study in which there was a group of people who received 25 milligrams of zinc orally 3 times a day for 3 months. And there was another group that received placebo, which meant they didn't receive anything. And the results indicated that compared to the placebo group, the zinc supplementation group had decreases in oxidative stress. They decreased the incidence of infection and decrease in the generation of inflammatory cytokines in patients who have sickle cell disease. And these results suggest that zinc may be beneficial to patients who have sickle cell. And then there's the standard dosing that you can see listed there. Food sources for zinc. Oysters contain more zinc per serving than any other food, but red meat and poultry provide the majority of zinc in the American diet. Again, other good food sources include beans, nuts, and certain types of seafood. So the common thread that I see here is if you don't have commercially available products, seafood and salmon, oysters, what did we just say? Salmon, oysters, we talked about cod liver oil, all different types of seafood can provide you with some of the main supplements that are very important in managing and preventing complications in sickle cell disease. So then we have L-carnitine. Put this one in because pulmonary hypertension affects about 10% of adult patients with sickle cell disease, particularly those with SS. And there's an increase in pulmonary artery systolic pressure estimated non-invasively by the echo, and it helps to identify sickle cell patients who are at high risk of pulmonary hypertension. This is important because there are not a lot of treatment options for pulmonary hypertension in sickle cell disease. So if you can supplement with L-carnitine to kind of help offset the complications associated with it, this would be very of benefit. So this supplement has shown to significantly reduce the number of painful crises, improve abnormal heart function, and improve pulmonary hypertension in children. So now we have L-carnitine combined with hydroxyurea. We've seen hematologic improvements where increased hemoglobin levels, reduced reticulocyte count and white blood cell. There are clinical benefits, fewer painful episodes, reduced need for blood transfusion, and decreased hospital stays. With compliance, there has been improved patient adherence when the hydroxyurea is used in combination with L-carnitine. Mild side effects reported associated with nausea. Food sources for L-carnitine. Red meat such as beef and lamb are the best choices for adding L-carnitine to the diet, and other good sources again, fish, poultry, and milk. Possible benefits, these are some that we have heard about. The evidence base may not be as robust, but these are also things that could be of possible benefit when we talk about beta carotene, garlic. We know that magnesium is good for people who may suffer from leg cramps and things of that nature. You may need magnesium. So then in summary, we have here dietary supplements may be added as complements to your standard therapies for treatment of pain and other emotional aspects of sickle cell disease. If you have any questions about dietary supplements, here's my contact information here. And I think that should wrap it up. So I'll stop my share.
Thank you. So we did have one person who's everyone, this is being recorded, which means that this is going to be available. However, Dr. Scott, someone did say that they know that your slides are proprietary, but would you be willing to share that because this could be helpful for their team? And so just let us know and we'll hook the two of you guys together. Um, so just let me know.
Certainly. Yeah, certainly. I don't mind at all. Just
Thank
let me
you.
know.
Okay. So on that note, so I'm trying to navigate where we are in terms of time. Thank you. Very, very helpful, the nutritional aspect. And so, Bridget, Reynolds, we just need to get your contact information so that we can hook the two of you guys up. Number one. Number two, we're going to keep going, but I wanted to find out from the tech team, just given our time, is the Lauren Lewis, has that been managed yet? And if not, let me have Dr. Dejois Brewer and Henry Claflin get on. But we're going to pause for a second to find out if the speakers are here, and then we'll figure this out. So, are the speakers here? How you been able?
She's here and we are working on getting her audio and video turned on. We finally got her in. So we just need a few more moments to get her situated.
Not a problem. So we're going to keep it going then. All
Hey,
right.
I'm gonna
Dr.
share a little bit about World Sickle Cell Day, Dr. Raleigh.
Okay. I'm going to have Dr. Dejois Brewer go because she was
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yes.
So she was going to talk about uh alternative and integrated therapy. So I wanted to see what you had to
Sure.
say. And then Henry Claflin as well.
Right. And Henry, I believe you're talking about acupuncture, right? Did I get that
Yes,
correctly? Okay.
that's right.
So in
Yeah,
the interest
correct.
of time, great. In the
I'm
interest
going
of
to have you
time,
guys just kind of give us an abbreviated,
yeah,
just give
No problem.
time.
Yeah.
And
that's a,
everything always works out. We had difficulty getting her in, but it's okay because everything works out. Dr. Scott, that was absolutely wonderful. Let me just tell
Thank
you
you.
that we're going to hear from our CHWs. They're going to be calling you to be able to present
yeah.
our support group. So
I'm
wonderful.
ready. I am ready.
Dr. Dejois Brewer?
Thank you for that. So Dr. Linda Scott and I have presented many times before together, and she always speaks to exactly what I speak to and believe and do. I can attest that everything she just shared is very valuable information, and I've integrated all of those things in a whole way. Because I believe nutrition, as everyone knows, that I always talk about food is medicine, that having the proper foods in your meal plan on a regular basis can be very healing and also provide an amazing foundation for individuals living with chronic diseases, but specifically individuals living with sickle cell disease. So great information in there. I also love the way she already separated complementary and alternative medicine at the beginning of her talk. And she mentioned and highlighted three things that I'm going to touch on. And again, this is just a very abbreviated version, and we can go into it in more detail at another time. But three things that I think are really, really amazing. And I can talk about several things, but these are truly complementary to whatever your basic program and what your physician suggests are correct for you to manage your sickle cell disease. I would also like to share with the group, the audience, that always find a way for trial and error. I mean, it takes a while, I believe, to find the right combination for you, even when it comes to foods. Finding the right foods and the amounts and variations and supplements, because you always want high quality. To give yourself a chance to discover your trial and error and really find out how your body reacts and what is optimal for you. Because as we know, no two individuals with sickle cell disease are the same. So therefore, no two alternative or wellness, what I like to say, living well with sickle cell, no two wellness packages are going to be identical. So yoga, meditation, breath work, and she highlighted guided imagery, which I do all four. So for the yoga, such a good tool. Dr. Riley mentioned the gentle stretching that she has at her center now, and many centers are providing movement. Yoga particularly really gets you to go deeper within your body and find the union between breath work and movement. And in being able to do that and slowing your body down, you're able to really almost reconnect neural pathways and musculature that often gets damaged in micro levels and then in macro levels that we don't always pick up on when it comes to sickle cell disease. There is a training that goes along with yoga when you start to practice it that then you can adopt into your everyday life when we have challenges, when we have crises, when we are recovering, and when we are just being. It teaches us to welcome who we are in a very different way than other types of quote unquote exercise. And I usually separate yoga from other exercises. So I do a variation of both. But yoga in itself, if I had to suggest one thing for all individuals living with sickle cell to practice, it would be yoga, because it has such amazing building blocks that then help and translate into management of sickle cell disease and just being well on a regular day-to-day basis. You'd be amazed how choosing the right breath work or slowing down in a position can help when you start to feel a crisis coming on or when you're recovering from a crisis. So that's what I would say on one end for yoga. For meditation, meditation and being still with yourself, having time to, what I like to say, surrender to the silence or embrace the solitude, gives individuals an internal power. It taps into a power that sometimes we don't always recognize that we have. Number one, it gives you an opportunity to slow down and insert the pause in our day to day that we can, so that we can really reflect and take stock, almost do a self inventory. Because you, as the individual, are going to be the first person who can feel any change in your body, any disturbance, and also optimization. When you're feeling your best, your body can heal, and there's an internal knowing that it lets you, it almost guides you. But in order to know that guidance, in order to be aware of that guidance, sometimes you got to get quiet. Sometimes you got to get still. Sometimes you have to allow the answers to come, and that can be the most uncomfortable thing. And speaking as a warrior and someone who just had a very challenging year and a half, I can attest to how amazing all these tools that everyone on this panel is going to talk to. So meditation in itself, when you have a good practice, and you'd be amazed, 5 minutes a day can make a pivotal change and difference. And you can slowly build from there. We talked about it a lot as a tool for mental health and wellness. And I believe there would be a group of individuals talking about that today. So it also fits into that formula of just an amazing and awesome building block. And meditation has different names for different people. You know, it could be prayer, it could be humming, it could be that you're putting the best music on and you're just quiet, but there's a moment that you allow your body, your mind, and your spirit to connect in a way that you don't normally do in other activities, that then has that knowing and gives you that insight. It also lets you know what your blueprint is. So you know when and how to interject treatments, therapies, and the like, the breaks that you need, the breath that you need at the most optimal times. And the last thing I'll touch on is breath work. You guys know I love breath work. Dr. Rowley and I think, are the breath gurus on this panel, though I know that many people on this panel practice it. And I'll link it with guided imagery. So there are many types of breath work. Breath work really helps you to connect and calm your nervous system. It helps to connect and increase secretion of certain hormones that can be healing, that can be that can promote, health, wealth, and wholeness, and also help you return to what your optimal baseline is. I think a word that Dr. Lynetta used earlier was homeostasis. Breath work can help you in a crisis, come out of a crisis, but stay even. I'm going to use the word just even. When you know you're in that good space, and at times you need to return to that good space, because as warriors, small things can trigger us. The most accessible thing that you have, which then becomes probably one of the most powerful tools, is your breath. And being able to manage that as needed and plug it in immediately is another very, very powerful tool and part of that complementary pathway that we have talked about. It is one of the only things that happens without us thinking, but that we can also regulate, which again makes it absolutely amazing. And when we talk about guided imagery, what is powerful about guided imagery is that it again can reset your baseline and cause the secretion of different hormones that can be healing, calming, or slowing by just reimagining and thinking about something, because your body doesn't realize it's an imagery or a memory. It thinks you're actually going through it. So when you need a happy hormone or a calming hormone or something healing, or to project a feeling when you need to heal, guided imagery can be an amazing tool. And again, it's all about testing and trying so that you find the ideal combination for you as a warrior. So wanting to share a little bit about those and hope that that is beneficial. And next time we'll do a whole PowerPoint on it.
Definitely. Thank you for the abbreviated version. Much appreciated. And before we get into the abbreviated version of acupuncture, one moment, I just want to make sure. I do see Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Uh, there you go. And so Derek Shepard, is Derek Shepard here? Okay. So then we're going to keep going. And so can I just say thank you guys for Grace for kind of going with the flow? That's how we do it, I think, anyway. So we do have our folks on who are able to talk about our World Sickle Cell Day. I think it's going to be Elle and Lauren, but right now, um, Henry, can you speak about acupuncture? Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me on. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I agree with everything that has been said so far. So it's all wonderful. Just real briefly on the role of acupuncture in sickle cell care, I guess there's three things I want to touch on. One is kind of the place of this modality in general. The fear of needles is a big preventer from people seeking out acupuncture, and then lastly, the training of how to find a good acupuncturist for these cases. So, acupuncture is really well known for treating pain. It's one of its most well-known and well-studied aspects. But there's unfortunately very little research on acupuncture for treating sickle cell. There's a couple of very small studies done in community and in hospital, small groups that look promising. And in my clinical practice, it has been very promising. It can be very effective for a lot of the chronic concerns, just the general wellness. Acupuncture is an amazing tool for improving blood flow. That's one of the most basic things it does is it dilates blood vessels, improves blood flow, and then there's other pieces that are anti-inflammatory, releasing endorphins, your natural painkillers. Um, so there's a lot of kind of mechanisms that go into help acupuncture for people with sickle or to help people with sickle cell using acupuncture. So it can play a big role in just chronic care in preventative approaches, but also with acute pain. I found that a lot of that is timing. If you can get acupuncture treatments just at the very early stages of an vaso-occlusive crisis, it can stop it. It can just flip it, dilate the blood vessels, prevent that blockage from happening, improve the production of red blood cells, and just redirect that whole course where, otherwise would have gone in a whole other direction. So that's been really amazing, but my experience has been timing is huge there. Once it's really rolling, then it's no, you gotta get you in on IV meds and get you in the hospital and all that. But if you can catch it really early on, just as you're starting to feel like, oh, this is starting to feel not good, uh, then it can make a huge difference in the acute pain experience. Uh, the next thing is the fear of needles. A lot of people with sickle cell have too many needles. You're getting blood drawn all the time. The veins gets blown out, and it's not a fun experience. You don't want to get more needles. So I always try to communicate to make the needles that we use in sickle cell, or sorry, in acupuncture are tiny. They're nothing like the kind of needles you get in hospital. If in a skilled practitioner's hand, they are painless or very little pain. And then also, some acupuncturists, and this gets to the training and finding the right person, will have a lot of tools that are not even these very small filiform needles, but will be kind of more massage tools and heat therapies. So there's a lot of different techniques that an acupuncturist might have, including qigong and breath work and all that sort of stuff as well. That can serve that can serve to support the wellness of that patient. So it's really about figuring out, okay, what is just the right tool, the right approach for you today, and having that conversation between the practitioner and the patient be a really fruitful, connected one. Um, so yeah, the last piece is the training, and so I want to put that out there where I think acupuncture is a really useful, powerful tool in the toolkit for a warrior to have, but not all acupuncturists are going to be very good at it. It's not like in med school, it's not a part of our standard training. So a lot of acupuncturists know very little about sickle cell, and the techniques that we want to use, I have found are different. My kind of standard techniques that I learned in school haven't served me super well when working with sickle cell patients. So I've had to develop new techniques and new ways of thinking about the treatment to best address these complaints, whether that's the chronic stuff or the acute pain. So it's, as you're looking for a provider, you want to have some conversation with them. Have you experienced treating sickle cell before? What do you know about this condition? So you want to be sure to have kind of an initial conversation with the person before you just jump into treatment. Because I know some warriors who have had bad experiences with acupuncture where the treatment was just too heavy, too strong, just too much. And then, that caused more pain. Um, so yeah, it's not everybody's going to be the right fit. You gotta, like looking for a massage therapist or looking for a mental health therapist. You gotta spend a little bit of time finding the right person, the person who really gets you and understands your condition. And yeah, I'm happy to help if I'm happy to share or connect with anybody and help them kind of navigate that process. I myself am based in Nova Scotia in Canada, and I know a few people across Canada. And I know there are a few East Asian medicine practitioners spread around the US that have experience with sickle cell. So there's not too many of us. The Venn diagram between acupuncture and sickle cell is quite small, unfortunately. But I'm happy to talk with acupuncturists or other patients, sickle cell patients, that with in helping trying to connect people together to make really fruitful experiences for everyone. And that's it. That's me in a very small nutshell.
Thank you. You are going to hear from us. Oh, most
Wonderful.
definitely. Because you're right. I'm using that word sweet spot. Uh,
Yeah.
it takes a moment to find that person. It's like an interview. You have to find
Yep.
that person who's who is willing as well to work with our special population. I do want to thank you all.